Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining today's webinar. Today, we're going to be covering how Provance ServiceTeam's centralized service catalog can increase operational efficiency, improve usage of self-service, and help you maintain accurate service-related information. My name is Derek Renton. I'm going to be moderating today's webinar. Presenting a demonstration of Provance ServiceTeam will be Brian Field. Before we get started, a couple of housekeeping items. If you do have questions, please submit them through the questions panel on the GoToWebinar screen, and we'll address them at the end of the session today. Secondly, this webinar is being recorded. So if there were other people from your organization that had planned to attend and weren't able to, please reach out to us and we'll provide them with a link so they can view it on demand. With that, let's get started. So today we're going to be looking at Provance ServiceTeam, a new product family from Provance, the company with the most Microsoft-centric ITSM solutions available. For those of you that know us, Provance has been providing ITSM and ITAM solutions built on Dynamics 365 customer service for the last 7 years. And we continue to offer our Provance ServiceTeam for Dynamics Provance ITSM for Dynamics 365. ServiceTeam is an evolution of our ITSM and ITAM solution that's been re-engineered as a Power App on the Power Platform. It brings a fresh, agent-focused, multi-tenant, high-performance option to the market. And we see it as having a lot of appeal for Microsoft partners and MSPs and Microsoft customers who are investing in Power Apps within their organizations. ServiceTeam can run either within Dynamics 365 or within a Power Apps environment, and it's designed to offer you flexibility and options from a starter help desk through to enterprise ITSM. If you're familiar with the Power Platform, you'll know that it's a low-code / no-code application development platform from Microsoft. And the power of the platform for us is the fact that it allows us to leverage a lot of the Microsoft tool sets that complement ITSM. The fact that it is low code / no code means it's all configuration, so change is fast and easy. Implementing it takes less time. Once it's implemented, if you want to make changes to forms or add workflows or automation, it's all done through point and click interfaces, no back-end coding required. So you don't need specialized resources, you don't need ongoing consulting. This can all be done within in-house and allow you to make changes quickly and adapt to your needs. From an ITSM point of view, what we've done is use the Power Platform and Power Portal specifically to build out customer service portals. On the back end, we've got an ITIL-aligned ITSM solution that provides varying degrees of complexity depending on the model that you opt for. But in all cases, it provides connectors out of the box into Microsoft tools like Azure Active Directory for managing your users and your contacts, Azure Intune and SCCM for managing configuration items, Azure Monitor and SCOM for event management and alerts, and also connectors into things like Azure DevOps if you are working with dev teams in terms of supporting different software applications. There's also out-of-the-box connectors into non-Microsoft tools like SolarWinds, Enable, and Jira for project management. So very, very flexible. Point being, all of these integrations are pre-built, so you don't need to go and rebuild things, and you can leverage tools that you're using today that you're familiar with, which really reduces the adoption and training time on the solution. As I mentioned previously, we built this out as various complexities. So it's a grow as you go model. So you can match it to your needed capabilities and your current budget. And over time, as your program matures or as you bring on new stakeholders that require additional functionality, you can increase your level of subscription to add more functionality. All agents require an underpinning Power App, so either a per app or per user license for ServiceTeam. So as you can see here, the functionality grows as new additions become available and as you progress through the maturity. So it gives you a choice and a path towards more and more capabilities. It's more than just a simple app. It's many years of experience that's baked into a solution that scales from core capabilities up to enterprise. On our website at provance.com, we have a table that shows what you get in each edition. So Essentials, Professional, and Enterprise. All is ITIL aligned and covers capabilities from incident management to service requests to portal to time entry, SLA management, reporting, and integration, as I mentioned, with DevOps and much, much more. As you can see, our professional and enterprise editions include the framework for a service catalog. So a list of technology resources and offerings that's available from your service provider, from you providing a service within that organization. And it's intended to help you efficiently and effectively manage and meet end user expectations. And that's the subject of our webinar today, to walk through some of the service catalog capabilities. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Brian, and he's going to take us through a demo of ServiceTeam. So Brian, I will pass it over to you.
Sounds good. Thank you very much, Derek. And we will focus, of course, on the service catalog. However, we'll be looking at other elements of ServiceTeam as well, as I show you how that service catalog can then come to life, if you will, within different components within the application. But let's first look at the starting point for your service catalog, which is the services that you offer. And here you can see some representative services that, you know, a typical managed services provider might have and might offer to their end customers. Now, this could also be if you're running an internal IT support organization. This can just be things like hardware support, application support, network support, software support, those sorts of things that you would generally offer internally. Now, you can see here on the far left-hand side of this view that we have the ability to show a hierarchical relationship between the different services that you offer, whether they are business services or technical services, which underlie the delivery of the business services that you offer to your customers. So if I click on the what looks like a little org chart icon, now I can see that within this financial services offering that we have, we provide the billing services, if that's something that you choose, direct payment services, general accounting services, payroll services, and then depending on what you want to do, you might even offer very specific services to an account or a customer. Like, you know, here payroll services, but we have something very specific for Polymix, and you'll see where this could come into play, where you have perhaps different CIs supporting the service, or you know, that run and deliver that service, or things of that nature as we drill into the different areas of the service structure. So if I go back, we'll just have a, now I could have clicked on one of the icons there in the graphical view as well. But let's go ahead and have a look at a service. And what we provide here is some structure. As you are developing your service catalog, you just generally don't, you know, put something up there, and especially from an MSP perspective, you're going to do and give it some thought. You know, what am I actually going to do here from a terms of a definition? Have I identified my target audience? Have I identified the value to my customers? Have I identified how I'm going to run this service? Did I look at my different investments? As I'm going through here, have I built my business case? You know, what type of a business category am I going to offer this externally? Have I identified resources? You get the idea. Now it's going through to my organization for the approval process. You know, the CIO or the CEO, the team that's responsible for this service offering to your customers, have they participated in an approval, right? So this very structured approach until you end up with, you know, the fact that you are online, and when you now have offered it to your customers. Now, when we look at a technical service in a little bit, again, this is that underlying service that you would have in order to deliver the business services to your customer. Now, on the service itself, I can identify, some basic items here. What's a default service plan, for example? And what that means is, what service level objectives will be applied by definition should somebody open up a ticket, short of other agreements that you might have in place, but opens up a ticket for this particular service. How important is it to the business from a criticality perspective? What service team should be defaulted in the case of a ticket assignment? Lots of different things that you can do as you're as you're putting these items together. Now I can look at the child services, much like we look from the hierarchical perspective. I can look at it directly from here as well and say, okay, as part of my financial services, maybe even think of that as an offering. Here now I have these four very specific services related to my financial group, and I can now look at these. I can understand, perhaps if there is a very specific account that's subscribed to a named service that you have, what the service plan is for that customer, etc. So lots of information that I can pull together here on the service catalog. Now let's have a look at the next level here. And now this is going to be very comparable. However, I'm going to point out a couple of different things as we're going through. Same business process flow is supported here, all of the same data, but now you might get into some very specific, do I have a data management policy that I want to apply to this? Which is another element here of the service catalog that you can manage. How are we going to protect this data? How are we going to back it up? How are we going to potentially restore in the case of an emergency? Those sorts of items are available here. I'm going to come back to change notices a little bit later, and we'll talk about those. But basically, these are notices that related to the change management process, where your team is going to do something. We're upgrading a server that's related to the service, or something of that nature, which could impact ultimately the delivery of the service. I would be able to see the different subscriptions. I didn't select a good one here as I was going through, but again, we're going to talk about subscriptions in a little bit. Now, if I wanted to see some additional services related to this, a couple of different ways I can look at it. But now I can see, okay, the billing service is supported by my database services service. Now, this is identified as a technical service, a little bit different. And you'll see that the business process flow is different for the technical services. Again, this is not me building out a business case anymore for the delivery of a service to my customer. This is setting up the technical service to support that, right? So now I want to identify perhaps some different items here as well, to include the actual CIs that I'm using to deliver this service. And now we're bringing in the CMDB into the discussion here. So lots of things that you can do here when you're defining your services, how you're going to deliver them, what's used to support them, and then be able to actually easily then take a look at that configuration item and understand perhaps some very technical information that becomes available through the use of endpoint management tools like Configuration Manager or Azure Intune, where I can now look at what's going on from a technical perspective, bringing back operating system, primary user, if it's an Intune managed device, the IMEI and SIM and other elements that, again, might be helpful for you when you're managing your environment. Now, all of this is put in place, the service catalog, technical services, business services, how everything is all tied together, how everything's linked together. Now, how does that look in practice? So one of the areas that you would reference the service catalog, particularly as a managed service provider, would be on the definitions of your service level agreements, right? So you might have customers who subscribe to different services that you have. So if we look at the subscriptions here, I can see that Tyrell has subscribed to what we are calling managed service provider services for Tyrell organization or company. We're really tracking a little contract here, a little subscription. Now, Tyrell might have multiple subscriptions that you manage over time, but you see here now the reference to the services, and very specifically now I can see that, hey, great, Tyrell has subscribed to my cloud management service, my direct payment service, and looking at that hierarchy we looked at a little bit earlier, I'd be able to, again, open these items and understand what's going on, how they're all associated to each other. Does it have a parent service? Does it have child services, etc.? So everything's all linked here from this, effectively a contractual arrangement with Tyrell, where they are now expecting to receive support and services for these two catalog items that they've selected, and they now have service plans that are associated to those to that service delivery for them as well. Gold customer for the direct payment, so more aggressive service level objectives, and then the silver customer, again, a little bit less aggressive in terms of your service level objectives. So that's great. So now I have, my service catalog, understanding what I'm offering, how they're all tied together again, how I then can indicate which customers have subscribed to which services. So then from a tactical, in a day-to-day perspective, now the next thing I want to look at is how do my agents use this? How do my managers use this? How can they see this particular data and leverage this? And how can we make it easier for them to be able to manage a ticket? So let's take the example where the customer that's calling in is Tyrell, the customer we were just speaking of. So for those of you who have seen the ticket management presentations in the past or attended other webinars, you'll be familiar with this ticket form here. And once I've selected my account, now I'm going to have some information here related to which contacts are specified on that account, but also here we're going to filter, say, hey, Tyrell is subscribing to these two services. So when I'm managing a ticket now, I could say payroll processing incomplete, something like that, be able to identify that that's going to be an incident. I can assign an urgency and impact, basic ticket management now that I'm going through, categorize it as I see fit. Let's say payroll aborted after 50 checks were issued, virtually issued, right? So I'm going to save that. So here again, now we see and can use this service so that agents, they don't have to know a lot about Tyrell themselves and what the nature of that agreement is, but they now know that they're only entitled to receive, in this particular case, assistance for those two services. Now you might have other rules in place as well, where there's generalized support, where maybe you bill independently if they need help with something else that they haven't currently subscribed to. So there might be different scenarios there that you want to look at. But what I want to show you here now is, it's going to apply based upon the payroll services that, or my agreement, the appropriate service plan, and set everything up. So the service catalog becomes a vital component, certainly of any managed services providers implementation as you are setting up your business, and then from a contract management perspective, from a customer management perspective, and then it ultimately transitions to a day-to-day management perspective as you are now providing support for the services that they've selected. So anyway, Derek, quick high-level overview of Service Catalog. I'll turn it back over to you here for questions and answers.
Perfect. Thanks very much, Brian. Let me just share out my screen now. All right, so we do have a couple of questions that have come in. So Brian, I'm going to ask for your help on these. First one is, can an agent change the incoming values of urgency prioritization that have been set by the requester?
Yeah, absolutely. Depending upon how you set this up, if you're accepting tickets via the portal and you have offered or have allowed them to select urgency or impact, or even select the service, actually, the agent will always have the opportunity to make adjustments that are appropriate based upon information that you gain as you're discussing what's really going on with the assistance that they've asked for. Absolutely available at any time to be edited.
Perfect. Okay. Second one here, can I include services in the service catalog that don't relate to IT, for example, HR services?
Absolutely. And that is something that I've worked with quite a bit here over the last year and a half or so, where our customers are now, maybe they started with the very traditional IT services model, not the MSP model, which I talked about a bit here today, but very traditional IT service management, internal support, and it has those core, messaging service, hardware service, etc. But as they've been maturing, now we've been adding in things like HR support, facilities management support, other areas within the enterprise. In fact, one of the ones that we had here in the last couple of years has been there was a specific service related to COVID response for a customer, right? Very specific things that were set up for that level of service that went to that organization as part of the overall service offering that this particular customer was making available to their end users. That was now a new service. Here's where I can get information on all of those items, and then be able to respond accordingly, and capturing the information that you would need for those types of inquiries or requests. Absolutely, can expand to anything that you'd like.
Great. Okay. And just one more question here. Can I make catalog items in the self-service portal viewable to end users based on their user records / preferences or groups?
Yeah. So yes, you can do that. And normally it would be limited to their account, what's called an account within the platform. So you would have, let's say, let's take two examples. Let's take the managed service providers. They're going to have many customers, and they're going to subscribe to different services. Now, a customer from the provider perspective is an account. On the portal, then, through the use of what's now called table permissions, we can limit a customer who is with one of our customers, right? We can limit to them so that they only see the services that their company has subscribed to. Similarly, you can do the same thing with internal support. Maybe there's scenarios where you don't want to raise that HR service necessarily to everybody. As long as we have a way to segregate them, by account or internal organizational element, for example, or something like that, we can control visibility to what they would be able to see and what they'd be able to consume.
All right, awesome. Okay, I think that's all the questions we have for today. So I put up one last slide here. If you do want to reach out to us, if you have any more questions, or if you want to talk in more depth about the capabilities of ServiceTeam, reach out to us at info@provance.com. We'd be happy to engage. Stay connected with us through LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook for announcements on upcoming webinars such as this, or blog posts from subject matter experts, product releases, all of that stuff. And finally, if you are interested in trying ServiceTeam out, reach out to us again at info@provance.com, and we'd be happy to set that up for you. So thanks, Brian, for the demo and the overview of Service Catalog. Thank you for everybody for attending, and have a great day. We look forward to talking soon. Thanks.
Thank you.